Okay, I'm going to start now. Thank you all for joining. I wanted to I wanted to have this meeting to have a real-time editing demo with a lot of people. And I think we have way too many now, but that's fine. Let's try to break this thing. Again, please turn off your camera if you wish not to be shared on YouTube or anything. I want to upload this video. You're very welcome to ask questions even while I'm presenting. At the beginning, I just want to introduce myself, how I got into this project and what I did in the past few months. I'm going to share what I did. And in the end, we can all try out together to break the editor. And I'm sorry, so sometimes I need breaks to admit the people to the room. I don't know how to turn this off. Okay, that's fine. All right. Hi, I'm Kevin Jans. I'm the author of YJS, which is a collaborative editing framework that is used by a lot. Again, can you all mute yourself? Maybe if you don't wish to speak, that would be great. Is used by a lot of projects to make their editor or product or existing drawing application collaborative. YJS is basically a set of shared data types. Shared data types just work like normal data types, like a YMap, where you can collaboratively with other users at the same time manipulate these data types, and everything automatically syncs up. It's kind of magical. I invite you all to maybe look it up a bit, what YJS is, and maybe experiment with it. I have Y community meetings where you can ask questions and learn a bit more about it if you want to, if that is your preferred method of learning. And Automatic has been kind enough to sponsor me to make Gutenberg a bit more collaborative. I say a bit more collaborative because we can't really make it would be better if we would start right off the bat to make our product collaborative. But I often get asked to make an existing product collaborative, and I always talk about progressive enhancements because we can't really just start with, well, now everything is fully collaborative like Google Docs, but that's where we want to go. And we can, but we need to make some trade-offs and we need to rethink some things. And I learned a lot about things that I can do in WordPress and that I really can't do. So I wanted to build a whole new API to save document content using incremental updates, but that wouldn't work with existing applications. So we need to be compatible with everything that is out there while enabling collaborative editing. So that's a huge task, actually, over time. And we can use YJS to make that possible. And I want to show you how. I got into collaborative editing because I really like Google Docs. It was a revelation to me because now we were able to really trust that every single edit is always stored in the cloud, right? No more, I forgot to save the document and now everything is lost, which happened to me every day when I was in school. But luckily, cloud applications often now have this feature where every single edit is sent to the cloud servers or whatever, and everything is stored incrementally. WordPress, however, at the moment, oh, I need to move this. WordPress doesn't really have this feature. So when I save something here, so let's say left window is editing. By the way, this is the normal WordPress editor. When I save something, it really depends on which user saves first. And when I reload the window, they get out of sync. And that is really frustrating to me. So now we have 2 times left window is editing. This shouldn't happen in practice, right? And Google Docs users are really used to never having conflicts and never having overwritten content. We have a revision history in WordPress, but I'm not sure if every user knows about it. Like if I look this up, like I tried to find the revision history here, but it's really hard to find. I know the edits are there somewhere. It's really important that we have that, but at the moment, the default behavior is basically overwriting content, which can be really frustrating, and users might not be able to trust their work in the Gutenberg editor. At least that is my feeling. So I wanted to fix that, basically, to make a better implementation. And I did so, I believe, in this PR, the YJS Collab reliable sync with the backend PR. It does a bunch of things. So first of all, we get a few more feature flags now. You can go to Gutenberg experiments, and I hope everyone can see this. And you can enable automatic config resolution on save or autosave. This is a really cool feature, in my opinion. So I implemented this feature where we synchronize the Gutenberg state with the YJS document. And this is not a perfect synchronization, but it reflects like most of the edits fairly granularly. So I can add, for example, a new paragraph here. This is, again, left window editing. And on the right window, I can also do right window editing. Oh, I need to reload the windows, otherwise it won't work. Right. Takes some time. Okay, again, so left window editing, right window editing. So now we can save this. What happened? I wrote something here, right? Right, window editing. And I think that was still the old version. Sorry. Let's try this again. This is always happening in demos. It works fairly reliable though. So left window editing. Let's make some changes to this paragraph here. Right window editing. I think this is because of the autosave feature. This usually doesn't trigger that fast. But the thing is, the idea is here is when I save, instead of just overwriting what's there, basically going, well, I don't care what's there, I just overwrite what is on the backend. I first pull the changes that contain the YJS document, rebase my changes that I have locally on top of it, and send that to the server. And that way, we don't get conflicts. Now this is really strange. I did this a bunch of times today, and it was working really reliably. What is going on there? So when I make a change, it usually should, it should pull the changes from the right window. You saw in the right window, I added this paragraph. And now this is synced, including my change. And when I do some changes here again, like that add some numbers, this paragraph should disappear because I added X here. Yeah, now it works. I have no idea what happened before. So when we save, instead of just overwriting, we pull the changes, rebase, and then save. So at least we don't throw away our local changes that happened right now. And I think that is a really nice improvement. And in the next iteration, we could even show differences. Like you notice there is a diff, there is already something there. So let's rebase the content, which is now possible with YJS and the edit history. But that, of course, is not very collaborative. Like you only get these changes. This will overwrite, by the way, on save and autosave. And sometimes you see the content get synchronized, even if I don't hit save. That happens because of the autosave feature, which also triggers a rebase and getting the conflicting changes. All right, now what we can do now is we can get almost real-time collaboration using the Heartbeat API. So instead of only rebasing on every save, we can pull the backend for changes. And I use the Heartbeat API, which is not ideal at the moment. But I think it should work Well enough. So heartbeat triggers every 30 seconds. And every 30 seconds, we check if there's a new autosave that one user did. And we pull the changes and rebase the document. I should disable that. Just reloading the window here again. So I should be able to edit content here now. This is a new paragraph. And at some point over time, this will appear here. And this is the heartbeat API. We don't do a full rebase on the HTML content. Instead, we just pull the YJS changes from the backend. And this works pretty well for kind of colorative editing. It needs some time, but eventually it will rebase changes and they are there. And I believe that while this is definitely not Google Docs real-time editing experience, this will be a good enough experience for a lot of users, because once we added maybe something like who is currently working on which paragraphs, you get some hints of who is currently working on this paragraph, and then you don't work on this paragraph. And when a paragraph is updated and maybe some content gets overwritten, we can't make a perfect editor binding, I think, at this time. This will need some more time. So when something happens, at least only the content from the last 5 seconds gets overwritten, which is good enough, in my opinion. It's much better than just overwriting what's on there and figuring out all the diffs manually. So for the normal user, I believe this is a huge improvement. If you enable this heartbeat API, the autosave feature is now triggered every 5 seconds. After an interval of, or after 5 seconds of an edit, you save your document to the backend, which feels more real-timey now, but you can adjust it if you want to. Like, I'm not really set on it, but I just wanted a better demo. And now we have a very reliable sync engine that works everywhere, and it doesn't require a special backend. One problem that we had with, like at the beginning, we discussed like how can we make colorative editing happening in WordPress. WordPress doesn't support WebSockets. It doesn't really have a real-time API, some sync protocol. We can't use WebSockets because not all PHP engines support WebSockets, and we want this feature to be available for all users and not just the ones on modern PHP runtimes. There are runtimes that can, if you have admin access, where you can add a plugin, so you have WebSocket support, but we can't really do that. We want all the users to support colorative editing, or kinda or almost colorative editing. Oh, I wanted to show this. Title also gets synced because that was a question that I got before at some point. Yeah, almost. I think this almost is good enough using only HTTP requests. We had a previous iteration of colorative editing that was created by Riyad, I think, where he added WebRTC as the communication protocol. But WebRTC is not very reliable. It requires 3 different kinds of servers to be a reliable protocol. It requires a stun server, a turn server, and a signaling server. And we can't implement all of that in WordPress. So that is kind of out of the question for a reliable option. However, WebRTC will work for a lot of users. Not all of them, but a lot of them. WebRTC doesn't work by default between all users. Just an example, my mobile phone can't connect from my mobile LTE network to my computer that is connected via DSL because of some network issue. I have no idea why, but it doesn't work. You need a turn server to have like a routing through a server so these 2 devices can connect. That is used as a fallback, but we can't use that in Gutenberg or in WordPress at all. So WebRTC is out of the question as the protocol for enabling colorative editing, but we can use it as a progressive enhancement because it will work for most So that's what I did here. You have this third flag for collaborative editing using WebRTC that you can just add on top. So it will sync using the HTTP API and also using WebRTC. And now after a reload, we should get, well, that is weird. Okay. Now after reload, we should get real-time editing, right? So it's super fast, and this is just browser to browser here. And it won't work for everyone, but it's working for most, and that is exactly what I was going for. If you want, you can now try this out with me. Maybe, so I'm going to stop sharing for a bit. And I'm going to send a link to the chat. I have the connection here. So now you can all log in as collaborators. Just a second. Here we go. You can go to my special WordPress setup. Don't be afraid to break anything. Just leave the experimental settings alone for now. But you can add new blog posts if you want to. And I have this link here. If you want, you can log in and try to collaborate on this document with me. Of course, somebody is adding images. Yeah, that kind of works. All right. I see there is this error for block validation failed. I have no idea what that is. It is entirely possible that there are sync issues with certain block types. I wanted to go through this, but you can make we need to create a special editor binding for YJS that synchronizes two different kinds of block types. And that is adjustable, so you can make your own custom block types collaborative if you want to. And the Gutenberg block type basically just synchronizes the JSON. And that is not always perfect. I added some bug fixes for certain things. For example, images should work fine now, but certain other custom block types might have issues. And that is not just YJS issue, it is because Gutenberg didn't expect other peers to change content as well. So we can work on this steadily over time. It's not perfect. Text and images and lists and stuff like that work really well. Other things probably don't. Oh, somebody asked questions. What about non-block items such as tags? Yeah, as I said, like there are a lot of different kinds of things that we can make collaborative. I already heard that we want maybe a sidebar where we see users and stuff like that. And the key here is progressive enhancements. We can't really make everything collaborative right off the bat. I don't believe that, that's going to be possible. But we can start. I'm not sure how tags are implemented. Maybe somebody can help me out here. But if it's a block type, we can easily make it possible. If it's something else, we can work on that as well. There was a question, what is being used to exchange peer info signaling server? I think it was Riyadh who implemented a signaling server in WordPress. And we use my WebRTC library to connect peer-to-peer to each other, and Riyadh's peer-to-peer, Riyadh's WordPress implementation of.
It was actually George.
Oh,
He asked the question and he
okay.
did full text.
I just wanted to know if like the signaling server was replaced or if we kept the previous implementation.
It was not. It's still your implementation. So thanks for that. By the way, we should talk about this at a later point. The reason why I made this another additional flag was I'm kind of concerned for security because obviously WebRTC doesn't have the everyone who has read access can manipulate the document, which is maybe a problem. I'm not sure. So I wanted this to be a separate feature. And yeah, WebRTC is a really cool feature. And by the way, I love the signaling implementation. That was really cool to see. So I just left that in there.
Okay. Yeah, regarding the security, yeah, to make this production ready, there are many many things we need to work on, and because right now it assumes like we can like put some scope the things like it only you collaborators with you can only collaborate if the people have the same role as you or above or something like that. But yeah,
something like that. But that is another advantage of the normal HTTP fallback, because it uses a normal existing safe feature, right? There's no custom implementation anywhere. We use a get post request that is existing there. I just extended it with a YJS comment basically to store the YJS document. And we have a save post request, which is, normal authentication part. So that is a nice fallback. And as you said, like users with the same role should be able to collaborate with each other. That would be interesting. It's just, a fallback. WebRTC can be just a fallback. There was, is there a question by Frank? Is there an intention to provide implementation that doesn't rely upon the Heartbeat API? And how is content stored as the YJS comment in post content impacted by revisions? Very good question. I actually really want to share this right now. I'm gonna share my home setup where I have PHP my admin, so you can see it. Okay, I hope you can see my screen now. I have to move this here. So the YJS document is stored in a comment in, just going to use a later one. Okay, so we have the normal HTML content here. And at the end, there's this YJS comment, which is this basically. So we have Y Gutenberg version number, which is important if we want to introduce a new editor binding. We need to then go to version 2. And the YJS state is encoded as base64 in this state object here. And we have a client ID, which is not the block client ID. It's a different thing. We don't have to go through this here because it takes a long time to explain, but this is something YJS internal that we use to rebase content, basically. So how does this impact the revisions? We have, I'm actually not sure. The YJS content is just stored as a comment, so revisions also store the YJS content, which is, in my opinion, a good thing. So the autosave feature just stores to the autosave. Here we go, here. So we have one autosave document that is regularly updated and used for synchronization. And revisions are only created on the save. When you actually hit save, then a revision is created as normal. And revision contained the YJS document that at that point in time. The cool thing now is, in the future, if you want to, you can compare revisions by comparing the YJS documents. YJS has something like a git diff, if you want to. So you can compare the YJS documents to get a proper diff of what actually changed. And in the future, you could also do attribution like this, because YJS supports something like attribution to show this content was created by that user and that content was created by this user, which is not normally possible if you just have HTML, right? So a revision or the edit history that is stored in YJS can be really useful. Just going through the, I'm going to start from the bottom again with questions. Will block client IDs be the same across user sessions? Yes, they will be. Yeah, there's a question about moving the YJS document out to a different post entity, something like a post meta or a new table. That can be possible. There's no argument against it. The only argument for the YJS comment is it's currently implemented. It's this whole thing is really complicated already. So I would like to keep it not too complicated. Storing it in the content, the post content, has the advantage that we can easily create revisions without, and then the YJS content is just copied. This is an advantage, in my opinion. So we can get this nice comparison of different YJS documents in the future. The downside is, of course, that we have, well, the YJS document in a comment which blows up the content size by about double. So we have double the content size now. But we don't always have to send it. So normal users won't see the comments because then you get the rendered field. So the YJS document won't be sent to users visiting your website. Okay. Aaron asks, speaking of security, I assume this doesn't do anything about users that have different capabilities, such as unfiltered HTML. Honestly, you need to tell me what this is exactly. I was thinking about unfiltered HTML. I haven't worked with that. I'm very new to WordPress. I just had a few months to get used to it.
Yeah, so some users have the ability to allow all HTML, such as script tags. Other users, the majority of users, don't have the capability to save that. So I guess if it's already using the existing post save and retrieval functionality, then it's taken care of. If it is going to use the WebRTC, that would need to be something that would have to get baked in.
Yeah, if you can filter what users see, you could even have some users that are not collaborative. That would be cool. If you can filter out the YJS comment, that would be interesting. By the way, something that I haven't shown yet, you can even use legacy editors to edit the HTML if you want to, or edit document in the database directly if you want to. The clients will automatically rebase, which is kind of a cool feature. So I believe this feature will work with, in all cases, pretty well with existing implementations. The problem is really the block bindings, because sometimes the editor doesn't really expect that there are real-time changes from other peers without user input. So yeah, we need to account for that, and there will be some things we need to do to make this work properly. Frank already asked if is there tracking at the YJS level of who made which edit. At this time, no. And we need an additional data or additional object to store, to associate user IDs with well, the internal YJS information, basically. And that is, just something we need to keep track of. Ideally, we do it on the backend, but we can do it on the client side as well. We can't do it on the backend because the backend PHP doesn't speak YJS at all, unfortunately. We can generate this information on the client side. And I think if you don't care too much about, I mean, I could mimic myself as Frank by just saving, well, this content was created as Frank, right? Because there's no preventing right users from writing whatever they want to. So I could just say, you created this content, even though I created this content, which might be a problem. But aside from that, we could implement that. That won't be a problem. Oh yeah, there's editor encountered an unexpected error. I think that is a WebRTC error. I saw that. I forgot to fix that. I think it won't do anything bad, but basically there's this one part where we create a document and create another WebRTC connection, which is I will fix it. I'm sorry. there are still bugs, and I haven't seen what you created. I want to see. Did it work mostly okay for everyone? I hope content syncs. If not, let me know. Yeah, I looked at it a bit at the original document, and it seems not broken, so I can still edit it and reload the window, which is good, I guess. Okay, let's look at the new messages. You mentioned that WebRTC is not a viable option. So are you using WebSocket? And if yes, then for each WordPress install, someone needs to set up or configure this on their hosting. Yes, WebRTC is unreliable, and I don't recommend it as the sole communication protocol to enable any feature in WordPress. WebRTC requires a set of different servers to work reliable, like as reliable as Google Meet, for example. And Google Meet is also not very reliable, in my opinion. So we can't set up a turn server, which is required for some peers to connect to each other. So that is why WebRTC is not reliable. The baseline for collaborative editing that I implemented is sync only using HTTP requests. And if you want, I can actually enable that feature and only that feature, so you can see what that means. It's like a good enough experience. So I disabled WebRTC right now. And if you do a full reload of the editor, you should experience an almost real-time editing experience. And this is what will work for everyone. If you want, you can add more communication channels on top of it. For example, WebRTC. And it doesn't need to be reliable. It will work for most users, or a lot of them. I'm not really sure. Depending on your company, it might actually work for everyone, because some companies block it, WebRTC, and some companies don't block WebRTC. So it might work for some users just fine. And it's an improvement. It's a progressive enhancement. It doesn't break the existing stuff. For users that really rely on collaborative editing, that need this to work for all users, I recommend setting up a third-party server. Yes, you can do that. We can even build extensions that use WebSocket or something else. You can sign up to a cloud or host it yourself. Like, there are multiple YJS servers that will be compatible. But the baseline is always the HTTP communication, which is, I think, a good trade-off. Everyone gets collaborative editing to some degree, and some users who want to sign up and maybe pay a little bit of money, or just do the extra work, they can set up a WebSocket server, which will be more reliable. And we can also take away with the WebSocket server, we can maybe even do some better authentication. So not everyone is allowed to do certain things on a document, right? This is something we can do if we have a WebSocket server, which is kind of cool. And then we can also do the attribution more securely. With the HTTP API, we can't really do that, unfortunately. But yeah, this is all like, as I said, we won't go for, you can't have a perfect solution right now. There's no way. WordPress is way too big. We need to add more things and future-proof things to it, one time at a time.
Kevin, I have a follow-up question. And so you mentioned about the security that WebRTC is not reliable and much secure. But when it comes to performance, especially when we are handling or dealing with large data or long post in a Gutenberg, out of all these options, which one do you think will be perform better?
WebRTC versus WebSocket. For the client, WebSocket is the best. So because there's only one communication channel, it only needs to send to the server. And for the server, they're really easy to host, like, not easy to host, but there are many existing implementations that are easy to host. You can even sign up to a cloud, and it's not even that expensive. Yeah, So WebRTC has overhead, but it works everywhere without setting up servers.
Yeah.
But it won't work for everyone, which is a huge problem with WebRTC. George asked a question whether WebRTC, whether we could set up public turn servers. You don't want to do that. It's way too expensive. You're basically tunneling traffic, and nobody does that. Turn servers are too expensive to host for everyone.
And like some turn servers offered by like Google and Twilio, I think I remember seeing some on the internet, like on some demos, people using like turn servers that were just being offered like by some companies.
Yeah, Google offers public stun servers, which is another technology that you need. And why WebRTC? And this is what you're using. You use the Google servers, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, to connect to each other, which is another problem in my opinion, because some users might not want to use Google servers, right? You shouldn't rely on them. That said, they work reliably. Stun servers are used to find each other, and they are public and they're cheap to maintain. You can set up your own if you want to. Turn servers, however, Google does not offer them for free.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like part of Google Cloud probably, and yeah.
Actually, it's really hard to find a cloud offering for turn servers. I have to look it up, but there are some unknown providers for turn servers. You can spin up a VM with a turn server. And it's just routing traffic, right?
Yeah.
That's what it does. But that can be fairly expensive for some users and also you could do illegal stuff over it. So I haven't seen a public turn server anywhere.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. If you are just processing requests, it could get bad usage fast. And the things are encrypted, so the server will not have access to what is passing on the server anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. If there are no other questions, I thank you all for joining, for trying this out. Could you do me a favor and all of you go to the document again and maybe edit it at the same time, because I want to record it. I forgot to record it. I'm going to post the connection details again. So now I'm going to share my screen, so we have a recording. All right, let's go crazy on this one. I could actually enable WebRTC. I think that would be much more interesting. Oh, there's so much. Oh no, you found my pictures. I did upload them. Oh no. Okay. Yeah, but I'm kind of happy that it all seems to sync up somehow. I'm pretty sure if you use this in detail, there will be some issues with images. I had some issues with galleries, especially particularly the gallery feature. And yeah, we saw some error messages as well, but generally it works pretty fine, in my opinion.
Several times as I'm typing a paragraph, I guess an update happens and what I'm typing gets lost.
Yeah.
Still?
There is somewhere, there's a full re-render when you save content and even on autosave. And usually this only happens every 30 seconds or something. There are some places where everything gets re-rendered. So I need to figure out where that happens and fix it. I will spend some more time to make it better, the real-time experience. The main work for me was to make the sync protocol reliable and, to have a proper baseline so we can make more additions to it. It will definitely be up to the editor team to support this in the future. and really like you have a really cool editor that has a lot of cool features, and it was not built to be collaborative. And we need to go a bit into the direction to make it more collaborative over time. And that means like using YJS. If you end up using YJS, like it doesn't really matter. Like the YJS thing is kind of separated at this time, which is a good thing for you. But it is important that you test this always and make sure that it is a priority to support collaborative editing, because even over the last few months, a lot of commits and PRs broke my stuff, and I needed to make more fixes over time. And you only experience the issues when you enable collaborative editing. At the moment, I think in the public and the main branch, collaborative editing is broken. And yeah, that is because collaborative editing is no priority at this time, which is unfortunate. So I kind of want to, maybe we all need to think about collaborative editing more if you want this feature in Gutenberg. So it needs to become a priority. And by the way, I know you have been struggling with the undo redo feature. YJS is a perfect undo redo manager. It's really good at it. So maybe that would be a good argument for making collaborative editing and the YJS binding a priority, because implementing a custom selective undo redo manager is really hard. So you want to be able to undo some changes, but other changes you want to leave alone. That is really hard to implement, and YJS just ships with that. I was actually thinking to create another PR, or actually make this part of this PR that uses the YJS undo manager instead of your custom undo manager to enable undo redo. Oh, Brian has a question. I have a YJS data types question. What are the current data type limitations? Are there blocks that this doesn't support? Basically, paragraphs that have textual content, they get a special binding, and everything else is just a JSON sync. So we take the JSON of that block and sync it. And if one change happens in one block and the other client changes the same block, one of the changes will win. It's not perfect, but I think it's good enough for now. We can add collaborative editing on text, so we can concurrently edit text. We can add that. And we can add custom things or custom representations for specific block types. But at the moment, I don't think we should do that. We should.
Are you IDing those blocks so that you know this block 6 is what changed?
I'm basically diffing, actually.
Yeah.
I create a diff of what happened. I create a diff between YJS and the JSON representation. And unfortunately, the block IDs are not a big help. So I just create a diff. And I have some experience with creating these kinds of diffs because the prose mirror editor binding, which is another rich text editor, basically works the same way on top of diffs. It works fairly well. We only have to create them after user edits, basically. Fabian asks a question. What about the markup of the block? Surely that must be synced alongside the JSON. Or is it only the JSON? The markup of the block, what do you mean by that?
Like with any more complex block than the heading or the paragraph, where there is the JSON comment at the top and that HTML comment that contains all the attributes and all that stuff, but then there's also the markup that is kind of a reflection of those attributes. Does it only sync the actual JSON representation, or does it also sync the markup inside that comment?
We don't sync the serialized form. We sync the block representation that is part of the Redux store. And that should contain everything, I believe. Right? So we don't sync the comment per se, the serialized one. We sync, I just listened to events on the Redux store or whatever you call it, and just sync the block thing completely. I also sync the the title and other features as well. I don't think the selection just now, because that wouldn't make sense. But yeah, you can basically choose what part of the Redux store you want to sync, which, you know, we can implement custom representations in YJS as well. But at the moment, I just, you know, take it as a JSON and put it in YJS. It's good enough at this time. Oh,
So yes, it uses the parsed blocks, which contains everything. And so it's a JSON representation of the content, well, without the markup, but
perfect. Awesome. Oh no, tables have issues. Then it reverts back to the table screen. Yes, that was my same experience with galleries, and I will make it my personal task to fix galleries and tables. I want to. That is. I noticed that it is synced to YJS, but because of the interaction between different editors, somehow it gets reset, and I have no idea why. But that is like a binding issue. As I said. The editor was not written for external edits to come in like they do right now. So there are some things we need to fix. But I also don't want to touch too many external parts. The PR is large enough as it is. So I don't think it should be priority for this PR to fix it. This can be done in another PR. We already have a guide somewhere that it takes to create the YJS branding for a block. Yes, we have. I extended it in the PR. I'm going to send you a link to it. There's the code MD and sync. I hope. Oh yeah, you have to go to my repository. Maybe I can get you a permalink. Yeah, I can. Okay. This is where I document how to create custom block type and make it sync. All right. I probably forgot some questions. So if there's something else you want to ask, just maybe shout out. Otherwise, thank you all for joining. This was really fun. Thanks. It means a lot to me to have a lot of interest in this project. I'm going to fix the PR. I know there are some things that I need to do, and then I'm going to ask for a review. I'm gonna help to merge this. I really want this to be part of Gutenberg. It would be awesome. Gutenberg is an awesome project, and I want to see it succeed, and I want to see it collaborative, ideally with YJS.
Thank you so
Yes.
much, Kevin. I just really wanted to underscore how much you've done here and how transparently you've done it. Just really appreciate all your effort here. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, it was fun working on it. All right. You all have a good night or good day, and see you all soon, I hope.
Thanks so much.